All right, let's get into Friday feedback, where we look at some of the responses and comments about things I've said over the previous week. Significantly more, I don't know, outrageous messages over the last several weeks, certainly since the Hamas attack on Israel. Also, many angry reactions to the fact that I wrote another children's book, which is something that's relatively uncontroversial. We will start there. Who bought this book? If you read this to your kid, it's worse than teachung them gay sex. It seems like maybe it's a book that this person should be reading. I don't even know what you mean to teach kids gay sex. That's a really strange thing to say. It's hard for me to understand. But the good news is already almost 1,000 copies sold of the new children's book, Think Like a Scientist by David Pakman. Just a reminder, if you bought it, please leave a review. I think we only have 30 reviews and 1,000 copies sold. So the reviews are so important. Please leave a review, and you can find the first children's book and the second children's book at davidpakman.com/book. You can also find them on Barnes & Noble by searching my name. This person, I guess, says that getting kids this book is as bad as teachung them gay sex. Let's ignore anything else that this person ever says. A ton of religious messagery coming in. I don't know if it's directly related to the situation with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or what it is. Here is Chevy Apache, who says, oh, this is about the children's book, right? The only book my kids read is the Bible. That's what God gave us. The rest is man's logic and has no meaning. I love that. Logic has no meaning, but the Bible has meaning, no matter how illogical its contents may be. Listen, if you're religious and you want to teach your kids the Bible or the Quran or whatever, that's absolutely your right. That's a decision that's for you to make. But to say that the kids don't need critical thinking and epistemology and media literacy, that's how we got into this problem in the first place. And unfortunately, many of these parents agree. They think my kids don't need to learn critical thinking. That's why so many public schools have removed critical thinking from the curriculum. This is what we're trying to deal with. And I'm trying to deal with it in absolutely any way that I can. Kenny Cottrell says you can't be a beacon of light. Oh, hold on. I already said it wrong. You can't be a beacon if your light don't shine. This is the wrong your, but it's the other way. Usually people use Y-O-U-R when you need the U-R contraction. Here's someone using the U-R contraction where what they actually mean is Y-O-U-R. You can't be a beacon if your light don't shine. There's a little light in all of us by God's design, but you can't be a beacon if your light don't shine. David Pakman, your light don't shine, using the correct your in the final instance. All right. I can't do it anymore, guys. It's presented without comment because I just can't do it. I can't do it. Sorry wrote in and says, Trump says Hamas invaded Israel. My friend Putin invaded Ukraine. That's actually not bad. I did not see the two considered together before seeing Sorry's message. So nicely done. Here's a comment about undocumented immigration. David, just wondering, how many of the 60,000 legal immigrants flooding the streets of New York are you willing to let stay at your house? As usual, I don't know if they mean legal or illegal immigrants. Oftentimes, there's sort of like bogus voice to text employed, and I don't actually know whether they mean legal or illegal. You know what? That's true. I'm not housing immigrants at my house. I'm not paying more in taxes to the government just for the hell of it. All of those things are true, right? You could find other ways in which there's a policy I might advocate for which differs from what I am choosing to do as a one-off, either because I don't have the room in my house or because me sending in more money in taxes isn't really policy. I don't really know what point this person's trying to make. I guess it's, if you think there should be legal immigrants allowed in New York or illegal immigrants allowed, then in order to prevent them from flooding the streets, I should be taking them in or something like that. These arguments are really silly. At some point you got to grow up. This is not how policy is made. This is not how adults talk about these things. This is the sort of thing you might think about in, junior year of high school when the teacher says, we're going to have a debate, come up with arguments for A or B. This is the sort of stuff you might expect before the students realize, wow, that's really dumb. I'm going to come up with an even better argument. Trent Carley wrote in and says, I'm actually coming from another video, just wondering where you stand on Gavin Newsom now after the recent vetoes. He's all right, but I can't see him being anything of weight, and I see him having a heavy challenge next gun race. I guess they mean gubernatorial race. Listen, here's my thought. Yes, Gavin Newsom vetoed, I believe it was a psychedelic-related bill and a cannabis-related bill or something along those lines. We covered it on the bonus show. I am of the mindset that I can disagree with someone on an issue or on multiple issues. I can see certain issues as deal breakers versus not. Like if Gavin Newsom came out and said, I don't trust Jews inherently, I would go, that's crazy. That's just like completely nuts. Gavin Newsom came out and said he doesn't think that there's enough of a framework for psychedelic mushrooms to be decriminalized, and he's open to it, but he wants to. Okay, I disagree with him on that. But it doesn't change that in the sum totality, S-U-M, totality of Gavin Newsom, I think he's good on many issues. I think he's excellent at mixing it up and debating and confronting right-wingers with their ridiculous illogical views. And that if he ran for president, he would be the type of ruthless person that we need, when not ruthless when it comes to lacking empathy, but ruthless when it comes to dealing with Republicans, to say, you've all abandoned policy, you're wrong on the contrived cultural issues, it's nonsense. I think he would be really good on that. You can disagree with someone on individual issues, but still think that overall they are doing a good job or could do a good job. Now, I know many people in the audience disagree with me on this because when I came to a different conclusion on the recent terrorist attack by Hamas, about 120 people canceled their paid membership. So the view of some people is, if as soon as I disagree on anything with you, I'm out. And that's okay. That's certainly people's choice. But for me, I disagree with these vetoes from Gavin Newsom, but I still think he's the sort of Democrat that we should be sort of moving in the direction of. And not everybody has to agree. Kirk Danke wrote in and said, I have a feeling this was Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s plan all along, meaning to run as an independent. He's smart. He knew he'd never get the Democrat nomination, so he got a bunch of support from Republicans and coverage. Many of you wrote to me saying exactly this, that the entire transition for RFK Jr. from running as a Democrat to running as an independent was planned in advance. He's not stupid. He knows he's not going to be able to beat Biden in a primary. So it was part of the plan to get attention because Republicans would think that he would spoil it for Biden. And then now RFK comes out and says, hey, you know what? Actually, I'm running as an independent. And now all the polling suggests that he's worse for Trump than he is for Biden. I have no evidence whatsoever that this was RFK Jr.'s plan all along. And part of me thinks RFK Jr. is the type of guy who thinks maybe I do have a shot at beating the incumbent president in a primary, meaning Joe Biden. It's not obvious to me that he thought that was an impossibility. But at this point, the concern that RFK Jr. will hurt Biden more than Trump is not borne out by the polls. It's not borne out by the facts. Also, you might have noticed that since he announced he's running as an independent, the amount of media coverage he's been getting has absolutely plummeted. And that may be because he's not as useful to other people as he was when he was running as a Democrat. So we'll follow it. I don't know if that was his plan all along. And ultimately, I think he's going to hurt Trump more than Biden. Let's see. Kikastra wrote in and says the pathway to communism is socialism. Is Californian innovation on the rise or in decline? It's on the rise from everything that I'm seeing. You basically state that communism stifles innovation, so is the ever-rising socialism in California bolstering or hindering innovation. This is such a Rorschach test. It's just like throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. As a reminder, I'm neither a socialist nor a communist. I do believe that there are certain industries or areas of society where the profit motive doesn't serve us well, and markets should not direct resources. Healthcare is one such market. The military is one such market. I don't want a market for multiple militaries, and the government sometimes will use one military. They'll use Bob's military, versus Amy's discount mercenary military. There's certain areas where I believe we should not be functioning in the open market. But innovation in California is off the charts, and I'm not aware of communism and socialism in California with regard to innovation in the way that this person's talking about. Maybe I just didn't see that story on Breitbart or something. I don't know. All right, and then here's something very special to wrap up. Warrior of Christ writes in, everyone here should be less focused on a war and more focused on knowing who Jesus was and is. The Son of God, God in the flesh. Repent, because the time draws near when he returns and destroys evil forever. God bless you. This war is nothing to what's coming. Many are not prepared. Open a Bible and get to reading, because very dark times are ahead. You know, I don't love ending the show for the week on such a apocalyptic rapture style message, but it's where we find ourselves at the end of this week. So if this resonates with you, you can certainly pick up a Bible and look at whatever this person is looking for. The alternative is we still have the bonus show coming up. Make sure you're signed up at joinpakman.com. The bonus show is next, or otherwise we will see you back here on Monday. Thank you.